survey comes from our annual Chief Executive Officer Conference. This will be the 25th year in a row that we've done this, and it brings together a group of about 230 CEOs of the major engineering consulting firms from all over the world. A lot from the US, a lot from Canada, many from Europe and Australia, South Africa, Asia, but about 230 firms who fill out, in order to come to the conference, they need to fill out a very detailed survey on all of the important key performance metrics that they use and that we use, so that we can then analyze the trends, what are things that are changing in the industry. Now we can look back over 25 years and see the ups and the downs and how long the ups are for, how long the downs are for, the difference in profitability between the different sectors of the business, whether it be by customer base or by business sector or by size of company. And that gives us an opportunity to allow people to benchmark themselves against the data of 230 other firms, and then they can specialize. They can say, all right, just looking for the firms of my size or our size, or that are focusing on water and wastewater or transportation. So they get a feeling, are they near the top quartile, the bottom quartile, in the middle, up to the top, and that helps them identify where their problems are, where their shortcomings are, where their lack of efficiencies are, and where they can improve and where they can't improve, because they're already right at the top. So don't waste a lot of time and energy on trying to improve something you're already far and away ahead of everybody else. So that's where the data comes from, and that's how it's used. The industry is changing, and if you look back to the 100 firms that came to our conference in our first year in 1990 and say, how many of them are still around today? The answer is only 20 of the 80. So what happens to the others? Well, sometimes they get sold, sometimes the key principals or employees retire and they want to pull their capital out, so they may sell, they may merge with a larger firm, they may gradually just decline in efficiency and effectiveness. They may try to grow too fast and run out of capital and go bankrupt, frankly, or just decide they're not able to grow or get newer young kids, so they just gradually wind down. So that's what I meant. There's constant change, but it's not different than any other organism or any other type of plant or animals, etc. They comes and they goes. And the ones that are most efficient and see the opportunities and run themselves more profitably, those will do well, and the ones that don't will gradually fall by the wayside. That's part of what life's all about. What we're finding, if you now look back over 20 years, 25 years, which we can now do, is that while some years are better growth than others, in no year over the last 25 years has the median firm in our industry gone negative in terms of growth. We've always had a positive. The worst year was a zero, but I don't think there any other industry that can say over a 25-year period the median has never been below into negative growth or negative. How does this compare to the U.S. GDP? It's about 50% faster than the U.S. GDP is growing. Compared to the world GDP, it's about 30% faster than the world GDP. So it's an awfully good industry. I mean, how many industries are there that outperform the U.S. GDP and the world GDP almost every single year, and by a fairly significant amount? So that was the point that I was trying to make, and we have the data to demonstrate that. The data clearly suggests that Designbuild is growing as a delivery vehicle, and other forms of alternative delivery, and P3 as well. I would say most firms are increasing their percentage of work in these fields, and more firms are doing work in the P3 area. And I think there are good basic economic reasons behind it, which relate to funding and the availability of who's going to be paying for this infrastructure. How do you raise the capital for the infrastructure? So I think Designbuild on P3 clearly, and our clients are saying, this is going to be a continued and important area of growth over the next few years. But it's not for everybody. There are a lot more risks that come with it. Requires a lot more capital, not always, but generally. and you need to be aware of what those risks are, and don't take risks that you can't afford to lose out on. I think the biggest risk to our industry, a few things. One is, I think increasingly fixed pricing is going to win, because most customers would prefer to know what it's going to cost them rather than wondering about how many hours are going to be spent and therefore what it'll cost them. So I think we'll see more fixed pricing. Now that represents an opportunity for our industry, because if you fix price your projects, if you do a good job of it, you can make more money. And the incentives are, once you fix a price, now how to do it more efficiently. So it makes the entire economy more efficient. I think there'll be more and more design build, alternative delivery, P3 work, but these come with risks. Who can handle those risks? Well, I think capitalization is an important factor. The firms that have the capital that can afford to take certain risks are probably going to be in a better position to take on those risks and will win those projects. So access to capital is going to be very, very important success factor in our view. A third important success factor, I think, is efficiency. Our industry is far more efficient today than it was 20 years ago. The profit margins are twice as high today as they were 20 years ago. What's that due to? It's due to people becoming more efficient, more focused on business factors, looking at key performance indicators and making sure you're not going to survive if you're below the median. In fact, in my view, you're probably not going to survive long term if you're below the top quartile. So getting into that top quartile, looking and questioning every single item, every element of efficiency, and maximizing that efficiency, in my view, is an absolute key success factor going forward. And like all species, the ones who are most efficient, the most fit, will be the ones that to survive.